Hello, everybody. Ivy Rose, Sarge, Shot Caller, welcome. Lake, Christine, Crime, Chris. Welcome, everybody. We're waiting on Mel. She said she'd be a little bit. So, how's everybody doing? Hey, Nico. I am glad it is Friday evening. I had a busy day. Good news. My granddaughter's I forgot to say that last night, I think. I can't remember. But my granddaughter's results were negative. But I watched my mom take that test today, and it is awful. Oh, that's that app Mel was talking about. Get Vocal. Okay, I'll have to check that out. Oh, um, I can confirm Sergeant Kim Riley did retire. Today was his last day officially, but he's still on the books for another month, whatever that means. But I did confirm that today. I did call. I don't have any idea why it's not out in the news. So uh, normally when, that happens, it is. But so, yeah, I confirmed that for myself. Now, I don't blame anybody if they don't believe me because it's not out there. I always like to see things official for myself or hear it for myself. But yeah. Oh, you did, Jody. And by the way, thank you for coming. What is it? Is it on Facebook or somewhere? Is it somewhere? If it is, can you send it to me, hun? Because you're on my Facebook. So am I missing anybody? Hey, Dana. Yeah, happy Friday. And Wom. Hey, Wom. IVI. We're waiting on Mel. She'll be here in a little bit. And let me know if I'm too loud, guys. I turned my volume up to make sure you could hear me. I don't want to sound like I'm screaming. Which one, Jody? Carroll County or... I'm on so many scanner pages. But I get so many notifications, and I'm hardly on Facebook that much anymore. Those of you that are my friends, you know that. White County. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw it on somebody else did on a couple YouTube channels, and I just wanted, it to hear it officially, and we couldn't find it on any news sources or anything. So I called today, and they did say. But you know what? I don't know this. I don't know if people are speculating why or anything like that. But you know what? He's been a long, long time. He deserves it. Hey, Monica. Welcome. We know who you are, Monica. Wasn't that just such an awesome, awesome vigil? Every part of it was, every bit. We watched it back here. And then I was like, oh, I wished I'd gone. I wished I'd gone with Mel. Well, we know what Mel's doing right now, right? We all know why she's not here right this minute. Mel's a perfectionist. So she's gathering her thoughts. She's gathering her info. She's getting everything just rightly prepared. At least I know that about Mel. So I hope you all had a good day today. I had a busy one. I was glad to get home. Excited about tonight. No, Dana. I haven't been on much. But that's good news. It's wonderful news. I did. All I have been on right before I got on here, I checked out Zoom with YouTube. I don't like it. It's very delayed. I did like a private thing. It's really delayed. And now I understand when I watch other people that use it why they don't. Like, it takes me a while to get to comments sometimes because I'm jibber jabbering and I go back and read them. But now when I'm in other YouTubers and they're not talking or anything and I see them responding to comments and it takes them a while, I see now it's very, very delayed. So I won't use Zoom. Hey, Sharon. Mel will be with us shortly, Sharon. Oh my goodness, Dana. So they were all in one house. That's terrible. That is sick. Yes. Very sad. I'll never wrap my head around why people choose or want to hurt children. I never ever will. And I did. I knew the Sylvia Likens case, and I looked it up last night after we got off here, and yeah, that was the worst in Indian history, probably. I did try to see an update on the case Babs brought up last night, and there's really nothing new there. I know, Chris. Thank you. I can only do one at a time, though, Chris. One case at a time, buddy. You got such a heart for justice, Chris. You do. Lakey. I like that, Sharon. There she is. Oh, it said to. Okay, there she is. Hold on a second, guys. Here she comes. And let's see.
I was having trouble with my new setup, so I'm sorry.
Hold on a minute. I gotta figure out how to check. Oh, here we go. Here we are.
Hi.
Mel looks a lot hotter than I do.
Ugh, I don't feel it.
You're not nervous, are you?
Me? No.
I don't know why I was not. I told my husband, I said, I went outside and smoked a real cigarette about 15, well, before I sent you a link. I said, I'm nervous. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why I was, though.
You don't need to be nervous.
I'm not anymore.
I can't figure out this new room. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Freckles.
It's kind of like
Freckles.
It's like Incog. When she has guests on, she gets nervous too.
No,
I don't know why. I don't know why I was nervous, but I'm not now. I'm kosher, man. We knew where you were, though. I told everybody. I said, now we know what Mel's doing, right? She's a perfectionist. Oh. She's gathering her thoughts. She's getting all her info together.
I do, but it's all in here because my printer is not printing paper. So yeah, I have it on my phone. I have things on my phone. So we have that, but my printer didn't work. So I don't have it all printed off, which is, you know how I get, but it's going to be all right.
I like your background too.
That's just curtains. But
looks better in my kitchen.
It's better than nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel it. I've been out. We went to the gun range. So I started carrying a smaller. It's a SIG, but it's a 9mm, and I carry a 380. But it's huge. It's so bulky, and I don't like carrying it on my body. So I shot the SIG today. It's so little for such a powerful gun, so you can't. My aim was off, but that's my day.
I had a busy day too. Glad to be home.
Right. I can't figure out this camera of like where to put it, where it's like not right on your right, you know? I don't know.
What are you using? Your phone or
the computer? I was going to use my phone, but I can't use my microphone. So I don't know if it sounds better like this or when I use my phone, because I can switch.
Sounds fine to me.
Is it too far away?
She sound okay, everybody? Sounds good to me. Hi, Ivy Rose. And if I've missed anybody, Monica's here. And Shot Caller. Do you know Shot Caller? She said power from Mel, so I figured she was somebody you know. Hey, Randy.
She might be. I don't know her. I didn't know she had a different name online, but.
Hey, Babs.
Hey, Randy. Chris. I think I might have got Chris to join Get Vocal today.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah. I love it. It's they have a hashtag. You can just put in hashtag true crime, and then all the ones I listen to just pop right up.
Cool.
So then you can just join on a live with them, and it's like videos. So it's kind of fun.
Hey, Hubs. So what are we talking about?
Well, I figured we would just do some questions, and then I had put that video in there because I had that happen to me. I don't know. Did you watch it?
Uh-huh.
The False Memories, to where our brains can only remember just so much of a certain thing, and everything else is kind of added in based on like reason or, assumption, perception. Kind of the basis of the whole outline of my podcast is the perception of reality. And so one of the main reasons for that is my experience with my own aunt. And I didn't really realize that it fits so well until I paid for a year's subscription to newspapers.com, which I did not realize it was 80 some dollars. Like,
Oh,
that's
wow.
ridiculous. Yeah, for a year, but still, it's newspapers. They should be free. They're at the library for free. But anyways, so when I was looking up her case, I did notice that like my memories were not right compared to the newspapers. And then when I sat down with like my mom and my dad and my grandma, they matched up a little better, but it was still off because you got to remember I was around 12 when she was murdered. It was in 19. See, I'm gonna have to like look it all up. 1992. But I just kind of thought that that was interesting with what we see in other cases, especially Delphi, with the memories of the witnesses, the memories of the family, the memories of the community. I mean, sometimes you're like, I could have swore, like what happened with Garrett Kurtz, Ashley Garth, and Derek German. It's like, because someone in authority, that's got a big old quote on it because I can't stand the dude. But because someone in authority said it, then everyone just kind of created this false like memory that they knew it or had it in their brain, or that he said it so it's true. But and then it always seems to come up with Delphi and the family's recollection of events. And false memories are so very true. I mean, they completely happen to everybody. You're not, like, it's not something that you're immune to. So it's not a bad thing. It's just the way our brains work. You can't hold everything in. And so I thought just talking about kind of that kind of stuff, my aunt a little bit, that one's hard just because, it's my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
But she was murdered by a guy named Rogers. She went out to kind of like a local pub. I don't know if you have one you go to. I do here in my town, where we always go just to hang out. Everybody kind of knows everybody, just small town, little bars. But she had gone with some friends that were in town, her friends, but it was the bar she was at all the time. And her and my uncle had been split up for a little bit. They had two very small children, toddler ages, like 4 and 2. And she was she was overheard in the bar saying that she was getting, they'd only been split up for like a couple weeks. That she was getting back together with my uncle. And so she didn't like that. He didn't like that. And he accosted her in the parking lot and took her from there. But her friends, she had gone to her car to get something out of her car to show her friends. She was constantly making stuff. She used to make me these baby doll clothes, like homemade. She made this, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like these stuffed animals But you could take him and like, I'll show it with the water bottle. So it's like, pretend this is like a little goat. I don't know. I'm like running out of, and then so you would take this part of it and flip it over, and then it would be like a turtle. Like the like clothing of it would go, and then the whole thing would turn into a different animal. They were like super cool. I have no idea how she made them, but she looked like Pocahontas, like legit straight up Pocahontas. She was absolutely beautiful. Just like walked into a room and lit it up. I don't know how my uncle got so lucky. But anyway, she went to her car to get something to show her friends, and then she never came back. And when they went to look for her, they found the door open and her drink sitting on top of the car, and she was nowhere to be found. And she was missing for, this is where one of my false memories comes in, was I thought she was missing for like months, but it was only weeks. And her body was found in the creek that runs through basically all the way from like Boone County, Hendricks County. It runs all the way down to like downtown area, White River. It ends up turning into that. But there at Raceway area, it's, you know, it's more Avon-ish. And they found her body, and the police had already kind of named this guy, like they thought he was a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And once they found her body, the funeral was like within that same week. We were not allowed to go because of the smell, us kids. But I remember my mom and dad coming home and just being like completely horrified because he showed up to the funeral in this big church, walked in late, and like walked up and put a red rose on her coffin and then left. And I had thought he had this was another false memory I'd had. I thought he went straight home and killed himself, but it was actually about a week later, after some pressure from the police. They had interviewed him, I think by this time already like 3 times. And so he took his a friend, a young kid with him, out into the woods to go hunting here, like Claremont-ish area. You know where that is? Raceway, Claremont. Trying to think. Just outside, you know, over by the oh, what do you call that? IRP is what it used to be called. The IRP. It's like a big drag race track. Anyways, that's where it was.
Surprised I don't know.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Yeah, I probably do.
Yeah. And so he took this kid, they went hunted all day, and then he sat down under a tree and was told, this kid, you know, I want you to tell everyone that I killed Tammy. He confessed to a lot of the things that, you know, only the killer of her would know. And to this kid, and said, if you stay here, I'm going to kill you too. So you better take off running. And the kid took off, and he heard the gunshot, and he shot himself. So the kid had like run home. And another thing I didn't remember, another like false memory, is they had to search for him. Like the kid couldn't remember, by that time it got dark, and the kid couldn't remember where he was. And so I can't say I'm really that sad about it, but he laid out there. He was still alive. Like he didn't die like instantly from the gunshot wound. He had taken the rifle and propped it up in between the tree and pulled the trigger, but it kind of slipped, I think. And so, if I'm remembering right, but yeah, so, but the thing with that is, it was awful. She was, obviously it was emotional, and like I was very sad, but I feel like sometimes you can just, like right now, I feel completely disassociated from it. Like, I don't know if other people experience that. Sometimes when I think of her, I am very, you know, I think of all the memories, of like with the bunny rabbit turned into a turtle, but and all the little tiny, baby doll things and baskets she used to make me. And she was one of those ones that would rather spend time with the kids, which I think that's why she stuck out so vividly in my memories, because she always played with us. And not a lot of adults really dig that, hanging out with the kiddos at holidays. And so, yeah, that was the first time in my life that I was touched by a murdered family member and loved one. And it really did kind of shape how I ended up turning out, how my mind worked, and how, especially with my uncle, because he thought it was his fault. He was nowhere around. He worked at Allison's on the night shift. I mean, there's no way he did it. And I could have swore that the papers had named him as a suspect, but that wasn't true. That was another false memory that I had. And I think it was because I was young and the church was our life. Like like I've said before, we were no schooled. I didn't really go anywhere but church when I was little. And so I think I associated my perception was, if the church thinks that he's guilty, then that means everybody was accusing my uncle of murdering my aunt. And so it took me a really long time to like wrap my head around the fact that I didn't remember that correct. It's so crazy. But I mean, it's right there in the papers, like it was the church that just completely, just kind of made us feel, like me feel, even as a kid, that my uncle was a murderer. And even after his killer was, then they had, I mean, the police were just very adamant about it, that it was Roger. And it still just stuck with my family at that church. And it was just so strange to me when I finally did, because like I said, I just got this newspaper's subscription like maybe 3 months ago at the most. So this was all just like, wow, I couldn't believe how many things I had created around it. Are you crying?
I'm sorry, Mel. I'll explain in a minute.
Oh.
It is emotional, though.
Oh,
You guys know I'm an emotional person anyway.
I know. I'm sorry.
I hope I don't get you emotional. I was trying to hide it as much as I could. I thought about shutting off the camera, but then I didn't want. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It is emotional, but then you kind of. I don't want to interrupt you though, so keep talking, and then I'll explain.
Okay. But no, I think it was like I had to relive her murder all over again when I realized how many things my perception based on my age was of what happened, and the timing of everything. And I had it that it was months, and that, that's why her body, because I was told her body smelled. And so as a kid, you're thinking, well, that must take months to have a stinky body. And just all the things you kind of add into, things. And it just gives you that perspective to have more empathy for family members that don't remember everything exactly right. Because it really does mess with your head big time when you realize, that you haven't remembered it right. And then you're just like, it just blows your mind. And then you're just feel like you don't know what was real, what wasn't. If that wasn't true, then what else in my past, what else in my life is a false memory? But that's my first story when murder touched me personally.
Okay, well,
So explain, please.
well, it was very emotional, and then to me anyway. Sometimes I can, you know, sometimes emotion I can keep it back, and sometimes I can't, and I couldn't. And then, you were talking about your aunt and certain parts then, and that hit me. I mean, all my aunts and uncles are great, but I had an aunt that you said that, how a lot of adults don't want to hang with the kids. Well, I had an aunt that was just, she was the youngest of my mom's sisters, and she would hang with us all the time. And I mean, her and I were like sisters, and she was so fun and everything. And, but most of her life has been spent in the mental hospitals. And she's gotten worse and worse, and then dementia and Alzheimer, and now she doesn't, and we're fixing to go visit her here pretty soon.
Yeah.
We don't know if she's going to know who we are, and I don't know. So it kind of touched both ways. But then hearing the story, and I can't imagine, and I know it does happen, but I can't imagine your uncle's position either. Although, they always think that, like when we're covering cases. And I tell my people, like when we were talking about the Morphew case, it's like, I don't want to go that way.
I know.
It may look like it may, but I always go back to the Patties.
Right.
And what they're going through, and what, to this very day, they're still going through that. And because it's always who the cops look at first, and then always the speculation and everything.
Right.
And even though they know now about your uncle that he's not.
Yeah.
But, his life, those scars are still there.
Right. Well, he never, he didn't ever get over that. And this was another, and I had to come to terms with this, and this is the hardest part for me. I had not realized, because this is my uncle. Now I do know, because I'm close friends with my two youngest uncles. My dad has 6 brothers, and they're close to my age. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't realize how close Jamie was to my age. But they were so young. Like, he was only like 20. She was like 20. I think he might have been 21 or 22. And for some reason, I mean, just I had thought that he was much older. And so the way he behaved after she had been murdered, I was so angry at him and so bitter, and thought he was just the worst person in the world. Not because he killed his wife, because he didn't, but the way he let her death and the guilt of her death and the grief of her death affect the person that he ended up turning into, which was a drug addict. And he had 2 little toddlers to take care of. And he didn't. He just flat out didn't. He would drop them off at my mom or my aunt, and be like, I gotta go to work. And then he'd come back a couple weeks later, and he just would do that all the time. And these kids just had no one. And a lot of that could be contributed to his very young age, to where, like, you have more sympathy for that. You know what I mean? And because I had created this narrative in my mind that he was just a piece of shit dad, and not taking into consideration how young he was, having to deal with his wife being murdered, him being blamed, him blaming himself, and then the abrupt way that justice came. And then two tiny kids, one in diapers and one barely out of diapers, that he's now got to raise on his own. And he never really, he had one girlfriend, I think, after her. And you could tell it was kind of like he tried to find a replica. Like he literally like sought out someone that she she was from another country, but she looked like exactly like my aunt. It was the creepiest thing ever. Like the psyche of my uncle, I can better understand now, especially when I put his age into effect. But his two kids were put through hell. They were victimized over and over again as kids, and it really just the they were younger than me, and me watching them go through these things is what really, I think, made me so angry at him, because they didn't deserve it. But neither did he, neither did he. And he died. He overdosed when his youngest son, he ended up having another son out of wedlock. And this cousin was 9 years old when he overdosed. He had locked himself in a room, and he didn't come out. And so his son found him.
Oh,
And this cousin of mine was, man, you see those kids at the like Christmas, and they're just completely wild. I mean, he was like a feral child. His mother was addicted to crack. He had like everything in the world against him, like he found his dad dead, you know. And even at the funeral, I can remember it's like, oh my God, he's just like, this is just going to keep going. I mean, just, it had already gone with his older two half brothers and sisters, like I love them, but their life has been a mess, and they've never been able to stand up and make a choice to be different from their upbringing. They're trying, they try, but they just haven't succeeded. But he did. He just, he's in his, let's see, hold on. So, no, this will be his, I'm trying to figure out with Taya. So yeah, it's either his sophomore year of college or his junior year of college. The kid graduated with like one of the highest IQs in his school. He had all the he had a total free ride to go wherever he wanted, and he ended up growing into the most amazing man. Like, he just blows me away. He wears sweater vests, and it's like not anything like really anyone in my family, which is kind of nice. And a lot of, I have cousins that are in prison, and that's kind of the pattern of my family, saved for myself and my siblings and a few others. It's just, it was really cool to see, that the impact of murder affects a family from generation to generation to generation, no matter how far you are removed from that murder. But at some point, we all have to, like my little cousin did, who it just amazes me. He's just a kid, and he was able to look at his life and say,
I want something different and make that change. And, you know, that's probably why I do what I do.
I have totally ignored the chat. I've been trying to look. I like the picture of Tammy.
Yeah, Tammy Lee just came in and she's
Oh.
changed.
I was like, who found it? Let me have it. We don't have very many. You know, back then, and my parents lived in a trailer park with my my uncle and aunt, the one that was murdered. They didn't live in there, but another one did, and so they were all, you know, close, and they all hung out quite a bit. And so I think, you know, you take little parts of your past, and I think that's why I feel so connected to like Shannon's dad and Shannon's family, because he reminds me so much of my uncle, like so much of just the grief has literally like it buried my uncle. And you know, in each case I see, like with Nicole, I mean, I have so many cousins that they're just a circumstance away from ending up in a similar situation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had friends that I had to be, I don't know if I should talk about that. I probably shouldn't talk about that. But well, yeah, Hatfields and McCoy's, because I am not, I don't even know. My family group, my mom's side, this I'm talking about my dad's side, and they're Indiana through and through. I'm pretty sure they came straight here from the boat, like as far as what I've tracked, like ancestrally. But my yeah, my mom's side of the family is predominantly Hatfields. And there are some McCoys though. And the reason that they moved, a big part, not the only reason, but one of the reasons that they moved to Indiana was because my mom's cousin had married a McCoy. And even all those many, many, many years removed from the feud, is still alive and well in Sarah Ann, West Virginia. You know, that's kind of like where everything went down. And so whenever we go back, we get dragged around to the Hatfield Cemetery. And my mom worked for the Hatfields. She helped get rid of like bodies. It looks so weird. I can't even imagine like hiring a kid to, when someone dies, because they would just die in their home in West Virginia in that time, which it's really not that long ago, and still happens to this day. Their burial practices are just super weird. They're like porch, you know, they put them in the coffin and like dress them up and then put them on the porch for a few days, like sometimes longer. And then they, you know, eventually they bury them, you know. But it's just a very strange. But so she helped Mrs. Hatfield with that. But,
Mm.
I'm glad for that food.
My attorney's a McCoy.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my family lives up your way, so could be.
Huh.
I'm not quite the farthest, because like I said, I have family members in prison right now, so they're farther away from you than me. But most of my family is like Delphi. What's the town right above, just north of Delphi? That's where most of them live, right by the Patties. There's a little town there. It's like it's even more tiny than Delphi.
Camden?
No, it's south. So like from 300, you go just a tiny bit more south from there along 25. I always forget the name of it. Is it Rockford? Rockford?
Rockfield.
Rockfield, yeah. So Rockfield down to Lebanon is they all kind of stayed on that 39. So
Because Rockfield was like just right down the road. It's right down the road from Camden. And I mean, it was just right down from me. And the Patties kind of live. I mean, it's like Camden, Rockfield, Delphi. Patties kind of live right in. I mean,
in the
yeah,
center,
they just lived right down the road from me.
really.
Like, other than houses and cornfields, right in my backyard when I lived in Camden.
And I think that's probably why Delphi, you know, I have family members that knew, not necessarily like the parents of Abby and Libby, but they knew Abby and Libby because their kids were friends with them or their grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but still, even in my own family, I hear things and I'm like, I just don't, you know, it's like that game you used to play where you could whisper in someone's ear and then you know, so, you know, do you remember what I'm talking about? So you like tell someone a secret and, or something, a saying or whatever. And then by the time it gets around to like the 10th person from being told, it's
Blown out.
yeah, like it's not the same at all. And so I still have to take everything that I hear from family members with a grain of salt because it's like,
Yep.
when you
Yep.
get information far removed, and that's why I think, you know, I try really hard with the podcast to I want to talk to the person. I don't want to like tell their story for them, and I don't want to hear their story from someone else. I want to, because I know the power of that, of when someone else tells you something and then that person tells them. And by the time, you know, 3 people have told a story, it's completely not even the same story. Does anybody have any questions?
Welcome, Dee Marie. I don't know who you are normally, so. Well, I was going to say, Carol made a good point up here. I'm going to put it up here. It's a bit like that movie Sliding Doors, just the different choice you make leads you on a path that builds how and where you are today and how you perceive yourself. And like how you explained your cousin, Mel.
Right.
And I think I've said it before. I've seen this meme on Facebook, or a story actually. There were 2 little boys, and his dad was an alcoholic. And somebody asked one of them, "Why are you an alcoholic?" And he said, "Because my dad was." And they asked the other little boy, "Why aren't you an alcoholic?" And he said, "Because my dad was."
Wow. Yeah. That's like you know how I am. I like overcomplicate everything and talk around it 55 ways. But yeah, wow, that's good. It's so simple, but that's so true. You know, that's exactly why I'm not on drugs and why I'm not an alcoholic is because not necessarily my dad is not, my parents are not at all, but we grew up, like I said, I was homeschooled. And so spent a lot of more time away from my core family, being at relatives' houses all the time and spending the weeks because it wasn't just weekends with me. I could spend the week. I raised a lot of my nieces, or I call them nieces and nephews because I raised them. They weren't my second cousins. They weren't my cousins. They were my nieces and nephews because I was the one that took care of them when they were babies. And and so just spending a lot of time with your extended family and seeing, I was like, I know I'm addictive. Like, I already knew it before I even grew up because of my family. And so it's like, I'm never going to try anything because I'll get addicted. I'd had a bad experience with that spice stuff. I didn't even know. I was telling Crime and them. I don't know if you got to see that the other night. You probably didn't. I think
What was it?
out. Huh?
What didn't I see?
Crimes Live the other night. I think your internet was out that night when I was talking about my spice experience.
I had to take mine down that night. Yeah, I missed. Yeah, I did.
Lord have mercy. Well, because, I mean, who would have thought, like, buying something at the gas station? Because at that time when I had tried it, I had just gotten divorced.
What was it? Spice?
Yeah, what we know now.
They had it legal. They had it legal for a while.
Right. It was legal. And it was said to be a substitute for marijuana. And so I wouldn't, for years after my divorce, I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize losing my kids, And so that was like, ooh, I can smoke some weed, even though it's like fake. It's still weed, So I'm like, let's do it. Had tried it a couple times. It was super chill. Felt, the high was totally just like, skip. I get a lot of really great ideas. And I like to eat snacks when I'm high. And so it was pretty normal. And then I think it was that third time. Oh my God. I ended up basically in a fetal position watching myself go insane. I know that sounds insane, but I felt like I was like hovering over my body and watching myself on the floor go crazy. And I was so scared that my brain was never going to be right again. It was like it completely split, almost like I wasn't dead because I was talking to, my man, like he was wanting to take me to the hospital, and I'm like, you can't, like, yeah, I can't go, like I got my kids. But yeah, it's some serious stuff. And we were just talking about that with the interviews that Open Secrets had done. And we're just talking about, like, could he have done this and not remembered? After I saw myself, I did black out, and I don't have any more memories of that night. My man does, and they're pretty strange, but I don't. But at the same time, could you walk and talk? And I don't know, that bridge. I think I'm back to he ain't it.
Well,
he ain't it.
You know where I'm at. I've always been there. But back to the spice for a minute. Yeah. That stuff is and can be. I mean, I don't know how people can smoke it for long periods of time and still be, because that stuff is horrible. I mean, I remember when it was legal, my brother used it, and not long after it was, there were reports of people being comatose and paralyzed, and I said, brother, you got to stop doing that, using that stuff. I said, I started telling him what was going on, and he listened to his big sis. He knows better, and he quit doing that. And then he went smoking back to, he's pothead. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I don't think that's a bad term. He's a big pothead, and he always has been, but he's a responsible one too. I mean, he takes care of his family and all that. So anyway, he just thought, hey, this is legal. And it's marijuana, then I'm going to smoke it. But he quit
Wow.
smoking it. And since then they quit. It wasn't legal anymore because of things that it was doing. So then people continued using it, though, because they could get it, because it didn't show up in drug tests. They didn't test for that specifically. And, so it didn't stop them from getting a job or losing a job or probation violations and all that. But it was killing people. It's killed people. It's done all those things I mentioned. And there was a big news thing from the emergency room doctor at St. E, how people would be coming in there.
Right.
I mean, it's really harmful, and it's very addictive and hard to come off of. I do know 2 people personally, 2 of my friends, their children. It's very hard to withdraw. So I do believe that if he was withdrawing, those whatever, however many, I mean, it is hard to come, and it does take a few days.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody knows where I stand. I don't think he's the guy. I don't. I never did. Because here's another thing too, and I don't think he was. I do think he lied many times during the interviews. But I do think he told the truth sometimes, and I think you can tell that he really hasn't been to the end of that bridge, because he was confused when she asked him who lived over there, and he was like, what do you mean? He's like, there's just gravel down there. He thought she was always talking about the start of the bridge. If you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, you can go back to those episodes and listen. I could tell he has no idea about what she was talking about over there. And I don't think he was playing dumb there. That's just my opinion.
The gate thing. I think
the gate, and then when she asked,
kind of
she asked about a dog walk or who lived over there.
And
he was like, he just kept saying, there's just gravel there. There's just, there's no houses there, because he has no idea what she's,
referencing. Yeah. And he did, and he had, but he kind of did, he kind of like it. She had mentioned, and this isn't, I don't want to speak for her, but I don't feel she would be like, why would you say that? Whether I said that, because, that and I agreed with her too, to an extent. Like, he did kind of seem like he made it a point to say that, like, I didn't go all the way over. I came back. We only went halfway out and came back. Like, why you got to make a big point out of that?
Well, I thought, welcome, CI Joe. I just didn't know what to call you. I was gonna say, when I seen your name, I was thinking of that little army character when we were younger. Thank you for coming. Well, I just took it as, because I thought she asked him, and then well, I see where you're saying, though. I could see that. I like her channel, though. I do, and I think she's done a great job. And I like her channel. Just she's not stuck on just one thing. I think she's done great with, especially I think she's got what she needs on. I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm talking about. And she also shares variety of things.
Yeah.
That I like anyway. I mean, I don't know. I know people's been critical of her for being too nice or whatever. But I mean, how's she supposed to get what she wants?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it is, it's a difficult chess game. It's a chess game. And you have to be smarter than the person you're playing chess with. That's the only way you win. And not that this is a winning, it has anything to do with winning, but it is, it's,
Well,
I don't know. It's hard for me because, and we've talked about that, and she knows how I feel. It's hard for me because I love the family so much, and
right. Absolutely. We do.
I wish that. But on the flip side of that, I also understand how hard it is to edit, and like it's overwhelming when you're looking at, because I don't know if you've ever pulled up like an audio. You've seen mine when I've done some, just to show like the comparisons of Garrett Kurtz. Well, that's what it looks like. And when you have 2 hours of that, it's so overwhelming. You're just like, I can't even get started, because you'll be like, oh my gosh, I've only edited 5 minutes. That's it. I've been sitting here for an hour, and I'm anal, but I get that it's overwhelming. And Slim Chips for the Jailhouse Slam, Ginger.
She is bullying his jailhouse ramen noodles and Slim Jims for a jail. Oh, Ginger. You guys, I've known Ginger forever.
Yeah, you have.
She's a good girl.
She is. She's the best. She's so funny. We always have the best time when we talk. We need to all like have a slumber party, like an adult slumber party.
I don't say I'm too old for partying, but
Well, like a slumber party.
now, but I partied with her before when I went to the bars.
Oh man, it's been so long since I've gone to a bar. No, it's not. I just went to a bar.
You did.
I will take it up, so I'm not like see this freaking screen being flipped. I'm like grabbing the wrong side.
I know. I don't know why it does that. Now, that's one thing I do like about Zoom.
And see, I
It
can't.
asks you if you want it mirrored or not.
Here, I'll
Oh,
turn it.
Tammy Lee's already gone, but I was going to tell her I got me some new chapstick today.
Can you see it now?
Big Star Bound. Is that what it says?
When I was in Alabama, Tammy and Charlie, the ones that I predominantly talk to, along with Jeanette, but Tammy and Charlie, she DJs at the Big Star Tavern, and it's like the coolest. I had so much fun. I think I might have a sample that you should be able to hear on here. Let me find it. But this bar was like,
Nico's internet's messed up, man. So that's why he's in and out.
I wondered where my boyfriend was.
He's my son.
Well, he's my boyfriend. And Chris is my brother.
And yeah, all are my loves. So but anyways, I got me some good CBD lip balm today, and it is awesome. Yes. Tammy Lee's already gone though. She used to tease me about chapstick. Lake says he made mentions.
Oh, sorry. I found the video.
A couple times about how child killers are frowned upon in prison. He wouldn't admit it even if he did it, but don't think it's him. Oh, I didn't know he said that. I did hear him say that he's worried that if people think he did it and it got to prison, but I didn't think he said he wouldn't admit it even if he did it.
Ginger.
But I might miss that. Blake, I might have missed that. Because you know my memory.
hey, Sarge, what's that? What was that? Joy used to talk to some of the people in that county and they stopped talking to her because of it. Because
Yeah, Chris said that Chris said they messed it all up for her. Her
oh.
she made her life miserable. Christine, you'll be fine, hun. You'll still be able to do your thing, your screenplay. He is scared about his family also. Because he said that he might. I mean, that part I do I mean, if that whoever he was talking about might be involved or whatever, and he said he didn't want to say because, I mean, if it was me, I would turn anybody in, and I mean anybody that would hurt two little babies. And as much as I love my son, and everybody knows he is my whole world, so are my grandkids.
Right.
But I'd turn him in. But how many people have said I wouldn't turn my son in. I don't think I could. I don't think I'd turn my brother in, my uncle and my dad in. So
Right.
I understand him saying for fear of my family or whatever, because I quit covering Delphi the way I did cover. I don't cover it. We discuss it, but I mean, I don't cover it anymore.
Right.
Because of the threats that were made on my family. So I mean, I kind of see where he's at there.
Right.
Just that. That's the only, But don't get me wrong. I'm not giving him credit for anything else because I think he's at some things I can't say right now.
Yeah. And with him, the definition of serial killer has been thrown around because it is actually 2 or more. It can be 2 even now or more with a cooling off period in between.
I thought it was only 2.
It used to be 3. They changed it, but it's been 2. It depends on, and I think it's like one of those things that it depends on the circumstance a lot too of the crimes and the timing of them. And because with him, you have the factor, and not saying that other serial killers, a lot of them had alcohol, they were alcoholics or drug addicts, like or they had problems with addiction as well as being sadistic serial killers. But with Garrett, you would have to analyze the circumstance. Is he a circumstance type killer? Like the circumstance was there and he doesn't care, so he will, but he also kind of seems to have a pattern. Is that just because he's lazy? Is he just, I don't know. To me, like I spent way too much time taking that video of him fighting because he does have a very distinct walk. And I was trying to slow it down and then block out the other guy. I'm just not very good on videos, but I was able to do it well enough. It's not going to be like quality of some of the other YouTubers, but oh well. Because he throws that leg out. Like when he walks, he throws it out to the side. And I thought, that can be something, because in the video that I have of him, he's only taking 2 steps, just like the Delphi killer on the bridge. Sorry, I hate calling him BG. He just gets off way too easy calling him BG.
Well, I don't like the name Bridge Guy. He should be, if you're going to use it for bad guy or something like that. Don't call him Bridge Guy.
Right. The devil on the bridge.
Something, yeah.
He,
Because that's what I thought at the beginning of the when they started using those initials. I thought bad guy. No.
I did. Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
I did too. I may show it on Sunday. I don't think I can on here, but and I got to work on it because so the video there's like another person, so I don't want to put him on my live, and so
Right.
I'm like trying to like edit him out, but I don't really know how. So I keep missing him from frame to frame. So I've almost got him all the way edited out so that I could show that. But yeah, he's taking just a couple steps, just like the Delphi Devil. And so I figured we could kind of analyze those of like, I mean, because to me, Carter focuses on that. He's like, you know, and he said a few times, not so much here, but here. Like, look at his body, look at the way he walks, look at the way he carries himself. And keep in mind, though, that he's on a bridge. But still, there's something that he seems to hyper focus on, that they're wanting the person that knows the killer to hear him say that, to me anyway, to hear him say that and then to see it. I'm like, oh, you know, there's something about the gate that for Carter anyway, he's interested in. And so because his gait is weird and it is that kind of that same leg that he kicks out. So I thought I would do that. But, you know, with him, everything, you know, everything can look so good. A person can look so good for something. Like when I first started looking into Thomas Bruce, I was like pretty much like, no, he ain't Delphi, but is he the I-70 killer? The similarities aren't crazy, but the timing though, that would be the thing, is you got to place the person there. But just the way, you know, with the I-70 murders, they're convenient, you know, and they're usually like little stores that not a lot of people are going to go into, like gas stations, or some of them were different types of stores though, but we're late at night when someone would be working and he just goes. And so it's kind of that same MO of Thomas Bruce. That's exactly what he did. That's what the I-70 killer did as well. So that was where I was like, man, dude, like, is there any way possible that this could be I-70 killer? I would still like to know that, if it is possible. I haven't done any further research. I got distracted from that. But I think it'd be interesting to look into because the MOs are just literally identical. They're identical.
Hmm.
A lot of them are.
Wow. Well, it's interesting though. This is kind of going sideways here for a minute, but it's interesting that you're talking about the walk, because a lot of people say you can't figure out anything about that walk on the bridge.
Right.
It's just a 2-second whatever. But I disagree on that
Mm-hmm.
because I like to defend my sheriff.
Yeah.
And there are those accusations out there. And for one, it's not his build. For two, he doesn't have a beard. And but that's not his walk. And I can look at that and I can tell that's not my sheriff's walk. I know my sheriff very well, very personal, and that's not his walk. So I'm glad you pointed that out, that you,
Right.
you know, because you can, you know.
When you know someone, you can. Like I said, I have a lot of family around there, and we're all not me, but my family's all gingers on my mom's side, all of them. And I can say they're gingers because they're my family, so don't judge. Not you, but the like. So yeah, but a lot when you know your family and you know the way they walk, like, and it's like, that's definitely not them, just based on the way they carry themselves. But then again, it freaks me out that he seems so familiar to me. Like, I I can't help it. Like, he's familiar. There's something about him, whether he resembles somebody in my life that I know, or I
Which
know
one? Garrett
him.
or Garrett
No,
or Tom?
the Delphi killer, the Delphi devil. Like, there's something familiar about him. There's something
The,
familiar about the voice
the
and
picture,
the video and
the
the picture.
video. Okay, yeah, because the sketches,
Oh, I'm no. The sketches should never have been.
the video, and that's another thing. People say you can't look at that and see anything. I disagree with that too, because
I do
I
too.
can, and I'm the same as you, Mel. He does look familiar, but
Yes.
I can't place it.
I can't either.
But I still believe that this is just my opinion, and like I always tell people in my chat, their opinion is always allowed and valuable.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's been mentioned yet publicly. But that's just
Yeah.
my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. He's not.
I just pray it. I just pray it soon. We're almost to 4 years.
I've had the same, um, and I wouldn't say it out loud because this isn't a person that I've ever heard anywhere, and I've looked. But he's been number one on my list for what it's worth, which is not much. Garrett Kurtz, there's a few times where I thought he was going to kind of overtake that number one, but when it boils right down to it, the other guy fits so much better to everything about it. But like you said, I do think, what would be shocking and what would be, complicated about Garrett Kurtz? Nothing. He's so dumb. I mean, I do agree with him on that. Yeah.
He's dumb for talk. I mean, just think about how dumb he is right now.
What is he like? Literally, what is the kid thinking? And Mathis, what is he think? I'm pretty sure he did. I don't know what he thought, but like, I don't think he thought she was recording him, nor that she was going to put it on the air.
But the jailhouse is always recording.
Yeah, but
They know that.
he probably knows that. He's not as dumb as that. But like,
everybody here knows I've been in jail before, and it says right on the phones. I mean, but some people think, they're not always. Yeah, they are.
yes, Carol. And I can talk a little bit about Alyssa Turney too. That's been one of the cases that I followed, and Sarah Turney, her sister, and Brooke. Oh, I'm gonna butcher it. It's like the longest Van Hoosentroot. She's this little girl. I mean, I think she was about 17 or 18 at the time. She lives in Alabama. She actually doesn't live far from Shannon in that case. And she reached out to Shannon's page, and we've had conversations, but just never been able to go anywhere with it. I think things keep coming up with Alyssa Turney's case, which is amazing, and that is where her heart is. But she is just the cutest little girl, and she really did, she's still in high school when she was doing all of this, and she did a campaign for like the 10 days of Alyssa, I think it was called. It was something like that. It was on Twitter. And then she also got people to sign petitions. to get, because Sarah's dad did this. You know, he was the one that killed Alyssa. And there was so much, and they were just refusing to move. And to see these sisters, you got Kelsey and you got Sarah, and they are just hell bent on letting these cases be forgotten about. And sometimes that's exactly what it takes. And I do want to say for DJ's family, I can't say. Never mind. I won't go there. The coroner changed the cause of death, which is what they've been trying to get to undetermined. And
On who, Mel? I'm sorry.
DJ,
Who?
DJ, Justice for DJ, it's everywhere. And I can't. I'm not even gonna try. I'll mess his name up. So I don't have it right in front of me because I have so many names in my head. I can remember the justices for, though. You know, I'm sure you can too. But they have, his sister and family have been working so hard to get the county to change his cause of death from suicide to undetermined, and they were finally successful. And it was on the same day that Sarah Turney's dad was formally charged with the murder of her sister Alyssa. So it was just like a amazing day. And then of course we have Joseph D'Angelo, who should just be called an inmate number for all I care about that douche. He's so sick. Like, he makes me so angry. That serial killer. Ooh, he might top BTK for me as far as just making me mad. But so it's just a good week in the true crime community. And then I just saw a post from Justice for DJ Twitter, and the sheriff came out and made he's not going to do anything. Just like such a slap in the face. You know, the circumstances are just like, really? Just do your jobs. You know, work with Ray. I think about every night of like, how can they not do their job? Like, that sounds bad. Like, how can they just not, like,
But it is bad. It is
more?
bad. I mean, that's the truth, Mel.
Yeah.
How can they? But
It's just heartbreaking because.
But it sounds like they will have to. I mean, I don't know all the details, but what I've heard, it sounds like they're going to have to do something.
Yeah. And I think with Open Secrets, like I've said, I have urged her countless times because I don't think she quite understands the lack of support and the lack of anything good about White County Prosecutor Office. And so I don't think she like understands that they're not going to go and seek out that. It needs to be thrown in their face.
Mm-hmm.
Get it to someone bigger than them. It needs to go, and I'm not talking even ISP, because they have I'm trying not to cuss because I know you don't like that. So they have egg on their face, in Ray's face, because of the investigation. I mean, you don't have a family take out a cell phone from the crime scene and bring it to you, and it's not the family's fault. They don't know crime scene protocol, but that's not it. So it's inadmissible. And I'm betting after what we learned about Garrett Kurtz having as many cell phones as he said he had, and then when you read in the strangulation how he wanted to borrow her phone and she wouldn't let him, I guarantee it wasn't Ashley's phone. It was his. He took her phone and he was using it, and they just did nothing. And they messed it all up. So all of the evidence to prove premeditation could be right on that freaking phone. And because of the way that they mishandled the evidence and the chain of evidence, they can't use it. But I think that they can use what she has.
Well, yeah.
Even though they made some major errors, I think this is going to give them the opportunity to remedy that. And I just hope that they're not narcissist, the prosecutor isn't so narcissistic that he doesn't do it.
But still, and this is just my take. So the phone, it's, they left it behind. Their fault. Family finds it. They take it in. I don't see why they still can't use that as evidence. I got a frog in my throat. The evidence is on that phone, no matter where it came from, how it got to them. It's on the phone. Why can't they use it? That's not making sense to me. Are you vaping?
I did get it. I just bought it today. This nice little kid.
Oh, but you got to put liquid in that, don't you?
Yeah.
I use the pods.
What is that? What happened? What is it? Well, you have to tell me what that is.
Ice maker.
Oh. I didn't think that. But yeah, I mean, we could just talk circles around freaking that.
So
mess.
I mean that confuses me. I don't understand why they still can't use the evidence on the phone, no matter where it came from, where it was found, who brought it, where that part doesn't make sense to me, and that I think could be fought. Ivy Rose.
Like a commode that like broke all the way, and then the pieces fell apart.
So, you were gonna maybe talk about, and you don't have to if it's long, a foster kid. Is that long?
Well,
if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Back to that video that I shared in the very beginning of, I need to sit down with my family first and nail down, because I think that they're not remembering it right. And who would have thought that in Indiana there would be quite a few grandsons that killed their grandparents. I did find two, though, which I can read those articles. They're pretty short. But I do believe I found the one that's Delphi related, like not related to the Delphi murders of Abby and Libby, but just Carroll County it's related to the area.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think I did find the one that my abuser was, is related to also. But again, the timing isn't making sense for it being the same case. So I'm going to have to go back and talk to them about it. But they're both still just they're very similar. And I could see where they would get them confused as being the same story because, like, really, that's happened like 3 times, 3 separate times. But I wasn't able to print it off, so I'll just have to read it, the details of it from newspapers.
I'm going to grab my drink real quick.
Okay. So the first one this article was written oh, come on. Okay, I'll find the date when I backclick because I don't want to lose it. Son remembers parents as wonderful. It's written by Jennifer Smith at the Journeyer and Courier, which is JC Online.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, Fred and Audrey Marchand's children remember their parents as fun-loving but hardworking people who would have given anyone the shirts off their backs. It was inconceivable to them that anyone would gun down the Marchands in their own home. Fred, 73, and Audrey, 66, were shot to death early Saturday in their mobile home on Carroll County Road 900 West in rural Pittsburgh. Police suspect that their step-grandson, Keith A. Buchanan, 26, of Delphi, killed the couple after a dispute about money being missing from the family business. The Marchands lived on a tree-lined street on the banks of the Wabash River. They had lived in the quiet community of about 800 people for most of their lives. Most of their family lived nearby. On Sunday, Bill Marchand's large house was crowded with family members, and it just kind of talks about how their son was kind of remembering his dad and didn't really want to talk about his stepson. He declined to talk about Buchanan, who was his stepson, or the killings, except to say that Buchanan had never had any problems or arguments with his step-grandparents before Saturday. Instead, he talked about his parents and the kind people they were. Everybody in Carroll County knew them because they were so friendly, he said. They were always nice to people, and you won't find anyone who will say anything bad about them. Charles said that his parents, Buchanan and Fred's brother, Bill, were partners in the business. Marchand's outboards the business, which bought, sold, and repaired boats and engines, and had been operating about 16 years. So I believe that is the one that it was on September 9th of 1991 when that happened. Does that one sound familiar as the one that's related to Delphi?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had originally thought that was the one because who would have thought there were more than one? That the foster girl that lived with us when I was little, and she was not right. And she was one that there were people in my life that tried to, it was the opposite of the false memories. They tried to convince me that I wasn't remembering it right. But there are some things that happen to you in your life that They're so traumatic that you don't forget, unfortunately, because I would love to. I would absolutely love to forget. But I would, as an adult looking back, I would say that she had a disassociate, I can't get it out. Disassociative like disorder, um, where she was like antisocial behavior, psychopathic. Um, but she could not, I don't know if it was because she wasn't held a lot as a baby, because that can be a big trigger. Um, I should talk to crime about that sometime. But I would see her try to mimic what my mom, like how I acted with my mom. Does that make sense? Like
Mm-hmm.
she would, she would literally be like mimicking it while it was going on to try to emulate it so that she could have that. She was really, I feel like she was really obsessed with my mom. And my mom didn't see it because she just was a different person in front of my mother. But when my mom was not in the room, thankfully it wasn't a whole lot of the time. My brother was a baby. I'm talking like, well, we didn't have car seats back then. They had those like little plastic things. You're like, how did anyone think these were safe ever? I mean,
Right.
that little he was. And she would take knives to his neck and
Oh,
make me do things like stick. One of them was her favorite was to stick, uh, give me a fork and make me stick it in a light socket. Yeah, she was evil. Um,
so not to cut you off, but this is, I don't want to say interesting, but I'm seeing some similarities. This could this have been a little jealousy type of thing too? Or maybe that's not the word, but and I can't mention of who because these, they might watch my live sometimes or on replay, but
yeah. Um, I would say
I mean
that
not that deep, but like
mm,
the first part of what you were saying was
emulating behavior or the
like
knife.
the um obsessiveness and acting like you a lot and not in front of your mom, but was a different person in front of your mom, but when your mom wasn't around, and but
Yeah,
not. I mean, it's not gotten that bad to where, like you said, with the knife and the fork, and
yeah.
but anyway, go on with your story. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, thank you for interrupting. It's not an easy one at all to talk about just because like for so much of my life I feared her. Um, she was a foster kid and I didn't find out until a couple years ago that she was a foster kid, yes, but my family knows her family. And so I'll get to that. But yeah, she was just flat out like evil. I mean, it was bad. There's more that I don't want to talk about but yeah, just and it was always that I'll kill your baby brother if you don't, do this or that or whatever it was or if you tell. And she was just such a psycho and we were little. I'm not talking about like a 12-year-old. I'm talking about a 9-year-old here. Like a 9-year-old. Um and so in my small mind, because I was young,
I think I must have been like 6.5 or 7. I wasn't too much younger than her, but I was a lot smaller than her. I do remember that. But she was tall, but very, very skinny. But one of the things that I had added to this memory of her was that, and now obviously I once I became a teenager, like, or just older, I'm like, yeah, she's not. But the Wendy's, the girl on Wendy's,
Yeah.
like, that's what she looks like. She had red hair and she looked like that girl, just skinny with the, she looked like the Wendy's girl to me. And so I was like terrified of Wendy's, that she was going to be in there. And I felt like she had to leave our home because of, she was caught. And that when she got out, when she turned 18, like, she was going to come and find me and kill me. I mean, she scared the living shit out of me, like, just traumatized. And how could she forget me, is what I was thinking in my head. And I'm talking even up till, like, see, when I turned like 16, 17, like, I'm thinking, she's 18 now, 15, actually. 15 was when I really started to get really worried that she was going to come and find me and kill me. Like, I was terrified of her. I've spent most of my life being terrified of this Wendy from my childhood. And I'm sitting outside with my cousin one day, and she's like, "Hey, your mom was on my Facebook and she saw Wendy and was asked me if that was the same girl that they took in when she was little." And it was. The Wendy that I feared my whole life lived in Lebanon and hung out. She went to the same high school with all of my cousins who I hung out with all the time. And, like, here this person was, I thought she must have had to have been in an insane asylum. Like, that's what my young brain, and that's why I wanted you to see that video, because it explains so much of those false memories and what fear can do to your memories, and how you build up these, like, because when you live in a family like that doesn't talk about much or doesn't validate much, you feel like you're crazy. They make you feel like you're crazy, and you didn't remember it right. And come to find out, like, my cousin didn't realize what a gift she had given me by telling me that she existed. And even as an adult, she looked just like I remembered her as a kid. And she's literally, everyone in that high school knew her and they feared her. So I didn't make up how psychotic she was. And she was the type of person that got off on torturing people. And that was like one of the, like, things I thought were false memories. But then when I had them confirmed about her, it was like such a burden was lifted. And to know, like, to look at her now, I'm like, I don't have anything to be afraid of about her, Like, her life sucks. And you get what you get. And she's given hate and anger and torture and just evil. And I think I found the right one for her, but I believe it's her. The family dynamic is complicated, but I believe it would be her, like, nephew. But he brutally murdered his grandparents after he freaking let's see. So his first victim was at a gas station, Gas America, on the south side of Cicero.
And she was just going about her business, ringing up sales, and a young teenager walked in. He was pretty young when he did this triple homicide, like almost triple homicide. But basically, he attacked her unprovoked for $200, and he beat her almost to death. This gas, she survived. She was able to crawl to the phone, and her story and like how brave she was to live and just like
Gosh,
she
Oliver.
um just one of those people that the community, everybody knew her and everybody loved her, and they just really took care of her because she took care of all of them. And he just tried to kill her for $200. I mean, I think he was 17 years old, like a kid. And after a while, you kind of just get involved with them, just like family. That's what she had to say about like the people that came into the gas station. Um, let's see. Brewer, 17, walked into the store that Thursday night wearing a mask and pointing a gun. She thought it was one of the kids being silly, and he proceeded to beat her over the head with it over 17 times with the butt of the gun, leaving her head one big knot. And she is shown in the picture of still having scars. I can't blow it up because you can't see it, but yeah, he intended to kill her, but he didn't. And so what ended up happening was it was on the news, and they think that the grandson, because he lived with his, like I said, this family's very dysfunctional, and it was like crazy to see. You always we talk about that, like nature nurture and the genetics of that, and like in this family, whoa. um I mean, he had no soul. So anyways, back to the story. He now I've lost my place. Um she Oh, this was kind of touching. It was actually Doug Carter.
Really?
Yeah, he was a sheriff in Hamilton County, right? Before he was superintendent. Came to her room that Sunday afternoon. He didn't want her or her family to hear on the news what had happened that day. So he went personally to tell her that Brewer he was having a party at his grandparents' house where he lived, and one of his friends went into the bathroom, and he found the grandparents murdered. He'd killed both of his grandparents and put them in the bathroom. He'd actually murdered them in their bedroom and drugged them into the bathroom, and had killed them 2 days earlier when that news article came out, about when it was on the news
But
about
and then he had a party
and then he
with
had a
them,
party
with them in the bathroom.
in the bathroom dead.
Wow.
And so his friend, it doesn't say in here, but I'm assuming that he ran out of the house and called 911 because I'll just read that part. The friend of Brewer's had been to his house for a party and found the bodies of Brewer's grandparents in the bathroom. Police say Brewer had killed them 2 days earlier. Was when the story ended for her. He killed him. And then it picks up like when the police were called, his friend that had found the bodies called the police, and he was on the phone with him trying to get him to come out of the home. When the police got there, he was pacing around the house, and they're trying to get him to come out peacefully, and he ended up coming out, but he came out and shot himself in front of everybody with his best friend on the phone, and
Oh,
the friend's mom
what a coward.
took his own life. They did later come out and he did have drugs in his system, and so their best guess, as far as what the papers say, was that he saw where they had a description of him, and the grandparents must have recognized him from the beating at the gas station and the gas station attendant, and or maybe he had the money. They were able to confirm it was him that did that. They found his clothes, and that they saw that on the news, and because it was the same night that they were murdered, and so they think that they confronted him about that. We're going to turn him in, and he just simply didn't want that to happen. So he brutally murdered his grandparents who had raised him from the time he was little. His mom's a real POS. Doesn't surprise me. Must run it. Like I said, it runs in the family. And he, yeah, just like such a tragedy for no reason and so young, but then that reminds me of her. I mean, she was 9, and she seemed very, even at a young age, um, she seemed like this was an old hat to her. It didn't seem like this wasn't something she didn't know how to do. Um,
No,
no, mm-mm, no.
she's talking about.
I explained that a little bit ago about how I think my family might have the wrong case, because that one is much older than this one. And like the girl that lived at our home, like I said, I'm only 42, so I don't think it's the same one. That one was in what's 90. Well, I mean, it could be, but I'm not going to say which case it was because I simply don't know which one Wendy is related to, but I'm pretty positive it's the Zachary Brewer case and not the Keith Buchanan. He was a stepson, and so he killed his step grandparents who were Martins. And I haven't looked into it deep enough to know if they were even related to Mike and Becky, or Becky. But the obit does list their names. So, but yeah, I had thought that it was that one because that's what I was told by my family. Like, oh my God, did you know that her nephew did that? But I don't think her nephew, because this one was in, I think it was 2006 or 2003. So the timing fits just a little bit better.
Yeah, and it was the Buchanan. Um, they were twin boys. One of them supposedly hung himself in jail, the one that killed the grandparents, and the other was killed walking down they were twins, I think. And the one that didn't kill the grandparents was killed later walking down the road, hit by a car that killed Becky's, I think it was her grandparents too, or was it her parents? I see, I'm confused. But the one case that Mel was talking about first,
Right.
it was the Buchanan boy that killed them.
Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of wanted to go ahead and do both stories since it's crazy that there's so many in Indiana of grandsons killing I mean, because that's kind of specific,
Mm.
geez, what the heck? But I mean,
at first in newspapers, I'm having a hard time with it, of just knowing how to search properly because there's hundreds of thousands of newspapers. So at first I didn't put in like the parameters of Indiana, and I just put, so it was just like all over the US, and it was like, wow,
Yeah, I bet.
those results were crazy of how many cases of grandchildren killing their grandparents murderously.
Um,
Oh, you're fine.
I was gonna say,
Confusing. Don't worry about it. I know it.
Chris
Oh, I'm
was earlier
confusing.
had Chris earlier had said the case, the other that you were talking about earlier, DJ
Justice for
Ficky,
DJ. Hmm.
Ficky.
Hmm.
And so now I am familiar with it. Now that he said that, and then the Twitter, I just recently got back on there, but I have not been on there. I'm doing terrible with it.
Oh,
I wasn't very good with it before.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm still not really good, but I'm just atting and hashtagging, and
but I haven't even been on there
I believe I haven't got kicked off yet.
or Facebook.
I haven't either, honestly. Like, I just have to take a break. I don't know about you, but you guys in the chat, like, I just have to get off Facebook.
Me
Like,
too. I mean,
not
I might do my
and
memories but I don't,
and
other than that, I'm not really.
like the messenger too. I just have to turn it off. I can't. Otherwise, I think it was who said that? Oh, it's a Nietzsche quote. But you know, it's basically about like if you don't take you have be careful, take care that when you're walking in darkness that it doesn't consume you. And I've been trying to do that. Like you don't have to be of it when you're in it. But if that's all you do, the fear is real of just like that darkness just consuming you. And not that I think that I would go out and be, a bad person or like murder people or whatever. That's not what
Right.
I mean, that it just can become too overwhelming in the world. I turn even more nihilistic than I already am, and I don't want that to happen. I want to believe that, but I don't. I just don't. I don't believe people are good. Um, and that makes me sad. I believe that we're all like half and half, and it's down to the choices that you make. And we all come to those life moments when the choice is like when I did with my family of like, no, I'm going to choose something different. Like, I don't want this life for my children, and I don't want that life for me. I don't want to end up on the Faces of Meth at every Christmas get together and have to worry about stealing from my grandparents and my parents. I'm not going to choose that life. I'm going to do something else. And
Hmm.
I'm going to teach my children. And I can remember like telling my normal friends that had like normal families when my kids were little, because they got like to go to like normal Christmases without having to worry about anything. And in my family, we were so big we had to meet at churches, so it made it even more bizarre that you had to like put all of your valuables in the glove compartment box. They couldn't take their DSs in. They couldn't take, like I couldn't take my purse in for sure, and I was always really honest with my kids of like, why do we have to do this, mommy? And it's like,
this is what happens when you do drugs. They want the drugs more than they care. They love those more than they love their family, and they'll steal them. And so this is just what we have to do. And then when your family, you go in and they're acting crazy, and they don't have teeth, or their faces look like skeletons, and my kids would always, mom, like, why does uncle look like that? And it's like, well, kids, like, don't smoke crack. This is what drugs do. And I was just always really honest with them, because no, I didn't, like, I would love to tell them, like, yeah, make sure you brush your teeth, because if you don't, that's what's going to happen. You'll lose your teeth. It's like, no, that would have been a lie. I would have loved to be able to say something normal like that to get my
Right.
kids their teeth, but that was a lie. They lost their teeth because they were on meth, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think my nephew that died here recently of an overdose was probably the hardest. And the anniversary of his death was actually when I was in Alabama. And I don't know. I don't really do anniversaries, like, anniversaries aren't, I don't celebrate an anniversary with my man. Like, we don't even have one. I don't even know when it is. And I don't really do that with anyone else's death, even my 3 friends that have died, and my aunt, and everyone else that's died in my life. Like, I don't do that. But that one, I don't know, maybe it's because I was in Alabama away from my family, or what, just, it was hard. It made it really hard. And then I think not talking about it, of, like, not wanting to acknowledge it, just kind of makes things worse when you hold them in. But yeah, just the most beautiful child. He was my sidekick, and that's just what happens. He looked like a Baywatch model. I mean, he was highly intelligent. There's so many certified, like, tested geniuses in my family. Like, it's crazy. There's 3 of them, and he was one of them, and his aunt, and then another cousin of mine who now is schizophrenic. And my other cousin um, he was just absolutely brilliant. And it's like, sometimes I think with those brilliant minds, like, they turn to drugs. It's like the chicken or the egg. But yeah, that was hard, to be away from my family, and seeing everything, because all the posts come up. You know how, like, all the posts of stuff come up, and
Mm-hmm.
um, there's his son is what breaks my heart the most, because he looks exactly like him, and just hoping, of all hope, that he turns out like my cousin that made the choices to actively change his position and psyche in life, and become something different. And yeah, but Alabama was great. I was kind of surprised that people aren't as friendly there. I thought everyone was just going to be super friendly. They weren't. It wasn't a friendly place at all. I don't know if it was just me. Like, you couldn't even see my face because I had a mask on, so I didn't feel like I was, like, being mean or anything. It was like, wow, no one is, like, when not like the people I was around. I'm talking about, like, restaurants and gas stations and stores. It's like, oh my gosh, like, the lady. I mean, I have never had in Indiana, like, I've never gone to the sewing department where you buy, like, material, and the person not be, like, the nicest grandma in the world. Like, they just always are. I don't know about you, but this lady was on another level. Like, she was so annoyed with us, and did not want to do her job. Like, so many people were just like, they didn't want to do their job. It's like, okay. But
Wow.
The screaming out Roll Tide was cool. Everybody does it. Like, it's not like in the movies. I mean, they really do that. Like, someone will say Roll Tide, and like everybody starts simultaneously Roll Tide. Like, I mean, they go nuts over it. It's pretty cool. But anybody have any questions?
Yeah, question time, guys. Stars in front of your questions. I'm going to put Carol's statement up here. It's not a question, but so many people go through things that are never voiced. Sometimes that silence is safety. Other times it's a pressure cooker for destruction. I'm lucky to have had help.
Wow.
Very true, Carol.
Very true. That's so good. Yeah. And it can be either or. And I have to believe that, yes, in the worst of circumstances, we can still choose. Like Cheryl, she's such a good example. Like Cheryl is just, I know that like today, I know that like today and last week or a month ago or a year ago, like she has her bad days and her down days. But man, that woman of just like having that and keeping it contained in that moment and not letting it like affect who she is and what she wants to give. Like I just have such mad respect because that's so hard to do. So hard to do, you know? To be able to compartmentalize, like I can just let it all out in this hour. Okay, you say an hour. Like I can just be as angry and like get it all out, but then I have to separate myself from that and be what my family and I need me to be. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, her, Dottie too. I don't think I could do it.
yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
And just knowing when they need to take a break, you know, like knowing when they need to. And I did tell her because I've been following this new podcast. It's called Malice, and it's different from all the other ones that I watch. And y'all know how I'm into the psychological aspects of why people end up doing what they do. I do it with myself, so it's only natural for me to like that with serial killers, like trying to understand the human condition. I've always been like that before I did true crime. And it's called Malice. Her name is Ariel. She has blue hair. She is so cute. She's probably the nicest person I've ever like met through a screen. And her podcast is basically doing a deep dive into the psyche of serial killers, just all different kinds of cases. But there isn't a lot of, and she always gives the victims like their moment and like sits with that. She's just very aware. Um, and it's just, I forget what my point was. How I always do that when I'm with you. What was my point?
Because I like,
Oh, I remember it all my own. She always says, make sure you practice self-care. And I'm like, at first when she was saying that, I was like, I had to look it up. And it was basically like, I tell people that too. I just hadn't heard it said in that way of like, take care of yourself, like take care of your mentally, take care of you and make yourself a priority and do that self-care. And so I had said that to Open Secrets.
but even though you don't do that,
I've been trying. I have. I did a lot of it this week and last week. I had to because I was in a bad place. I was in a really bad place. And so I had to like ground myself and recenter myself and like
take that time. I mean, it was just a lot to, especially when you're in pain, when your neck, like, I mean, I couldn't move my neck at all, and everything hurt. Like literally, if I did that, it hurt, and that always makes life situations worse. And
Yep.
I said, I'm literally a paper cut away from ending up in an insane asylum this week. Like, I can't take anymore. I can't even take a paper cut at this point. But I think it was just tired from the long drive home and the trip and the excitement of it, but also the nerves, like of speaking. I called you. I mean, I was like a wreck. I was so scared. I was going to get up there and pee my pants. I didn't, thank God. But, and just the changes, the kids going off to college, like turning 18, that all happened in 1 week, So, yeah, I have been trying to practice self-care, but I had said that, and then I had to like fess up. And like, I totally told one of my interviewees to practice self-care this week, thanks to you, because I've been just binge watching, listening to all of her podcasts. And so I was like, oh, but yeah, you definitely do. You have to take that time for yourself in order to be effective. And I really did kind of feel like when I was talking to Open Secrets, I didn't do it justice. I should have taken another day and practiced that self-care I told her about. So it ended up being ironic that I was the one that really needed it and didn't realize it until after I watched it. But yeah.
And it's called Malice. The name of the
her main one, she has like 4, but they're kind of like offshoots, kind of how like Morph has. Like, she's kind of like a Morph. She's like the girl Morph, Mike Morford. But yeah, she's really good. And True Crime Witch, she is one that was actually recommended to me from Malice, and I like True Crime Witch because she is in the UK, and so you get to hear about all these cases that we don't hear about here in the States. And so Chris had sent me a case about a potential serial killer. Am I not right? Is that right, Chris? That is targeting older people. But I thought of her immediately, like, I think you should send this to her, because I think like she would be really good at it and she would be familiar with the terms. Because when I listen to her podcast, and she'll cover some in the States, and like the word, that's what I kind of like about listening to people from different countries who do true crime, because like she didn't know what blocks were, like a block here, you like go around the block, it happened 2 blocks from 900 block or whatever. And like, I don't know what these blocks are in America, but like, I think they may be this. It's so cute. And I think she's just getting started. So I think the community is all about helping each other. And I think she's a sweetheart. And I love Ariel from Alice. And so, but yeah, it's hard. Podcasting is not easy to get everything, all the quirks with the editing worked out in the audio, but she's got good content. So yeah, check her out.
And it's spelled just like it sounds, Malice.
Yep. Just like the word Malice. Yep. And then True Crime Witch. True Crime Witch. But she's like, it's kind of an oxymoron because she's so sweet. She's like anything but a witch. And she's got the little cute ghost, like Casper the Ghost as her like thing. So it sounds like it might be like really over the top, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, self-care stops the darkness enveloping you. Yeah.
So Nobody has any questions for Mel? I can't believe that. Who's all here still? I know Angel Bear is, and Christine is, and West is. I haven't seen Lake is. Chris. Monica. Sarge. Randy.
Hi,
Nobody
Monica.
got questions? 10 toes. Nobody has any questions? That's hard to believe.
I do want to talk to Randy sometime about how he and I, fit into the whole Hatfield McCoy thing, because I know he's related as well. I'd like to hear his stories and see if they're similar to mine. The Golden Ear serial killer. Is that your bird imitating your dogs or your dogs?
No, it's my dog. Ivy Eye's here. Come on, guys. I know you got some questions.
I do. Yes, I do, Christine. I sure do. And I think that they do too. I think that they know who it is. And I think it's one of those, got to prove it.
Oliver.
If you really study genetics and forensic DNA and all of the things that go into it, it sounds like it should just, if they have DNA, it should just be a slam dunk, but it's just not the case. You got to have enough biomarkers on that sample in order to, there's like COVID requires, I think it was at 20 something markers. Maybe it was like between 17 and 20 something markers. And those are individual like chromosome markers to where they won't even upload it did I say COVID? CODIS, if it doesn't have enough. And that's where things like forensic genetic genealogy can come into play as well. Or they can send in when they don't have enough of a profile to send into CODIS to get matches, because that's obviously the cheapest way. They can do a comparison with the two samples. So you have your sample from the crime scene, and then you get a warrant for a sample from a suspect, and you have to compare them individually, which seems to be what's happening in Delphi, because, they've asked everybody in way more than just Carroll County for their DNA. I know that for a fact. So I'm wondering if they're not in the same boat as Shannon's case. And I think it's down to the degradation of the crime scene. It was 6 weeks in Alabama heat and humidity and no rain, and in the middle of nowhere where scavengers are not afraid to come out. And so, unfortunately, I think they do have DNA, but it's not enough to solely take to a trial, because the jury trial has been in the grand jury has been impaneled for 3 years now, which is it's usually 6 months, at the most. And so when I talked to this assistant DA, who was just so sweet, they can't tell you things, but they can kind of tell them to you. So yeah, I think that they are trying to present enough to a grand jury that they feel confident they could get a conviction at a trial. And the FBI needs to get booking. I wish there could be some changes in the way everything is going down with the FBI and these labs. There's so many more labs now that weren't available to Prattville PD even just a few years ago. And now they are, but since the samples have already been sent to the FBI, they can't get them back. And so it's just a waiting game. You know, the colder the cases, the older the cases, and the less media attention it gets, they're not going to process it. Just flat out, they're not going to. So you just have to wait to whenever they get around to it. And there's so many new murders that are coming in every freaking day, every hour, that, you know, to me, our society is getting so far away from what makes us human, and that is children. And if we don't take care of children, what will the world look like in a few more decades? But you see it, the family unit. You see so many more parents killing their children, selling their children. Oh, I just come across. This is why I stay away from Facebook, because all I have on there is just murder groups. And this worst story of this freaking mom. The dad had custody, and the courts in Fayetteville, North Carolina was where this case was. And this freaking mom got her kid back, seemingly for the sole purpose of selling her 5-year-old for sex to trade for drugs. She sold her daughter to a pedophile. He raped her. They have him on camera carrying her out. I mean, the kid looks like she just went through hell. And he got her to his car. After they get in the elevator, they're gone, and he killed her. He killed this little girl.
Ugh.
And the mom says, well, he was only supposed to have sex with her and then bring her back.
Ah,
Swear to God.
man, I'm telling you.
He's on death row, and she's in prison. So there's that, you know, but
What is wrong with these people, though? What is wrong with these? I mean,
can you
I
even?
can't wrap my brain around why anybody would want to hurt a child but their own parent. I don't get it. It infuriates me.
I mean,
I just can't.
like,
I can't understand.
that's
I
what
don't-
you're going to tell the court. Like, that's what you're going to tell them. Like, well, he wasn't supposed to kill her. He was just supposed to have sex with her. So, like, why am I in this much trouble?
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
I mean,
Like, what? And Angie, I know you know, but like, y'all don't get it. Like, this is just one of many.
right.
Like, this isn't just like, oh, this happened. This is like shock. Like, this is happening on a frequent, like, in the familicides that are occurring, when that used to be like the rarity. That was the
Yeah.
exception to the norm. And there's, you know, Chris Watts, but there's also the Jones family. I can't remember his first name, which I don't really care. He just shouldn't have a name. But Cassia Jones and her kids that were just brutally murdered, I think it was last summer. The same situation, just they were in his way. He wanted to have a new girlfriend and a new life, and he killed all of his kids. They have videos on YouTube of them in the car, like singing just days before. He just murdered them one by one, and like went and picked up the kids that were at their grandma's. 2 of the kids were at their grandma's, and they had been trying, like, where is our daughter? You know, like, we haven't heard from her. And, but, you know,
you got to come and get the kids. Like, they have been here for way too long. They're missing their mom and dad. So he finally went and picked them up and he killed them.
And
Like,
so then they
said, no, I'm not picking them up. And dumped their bodies, like, just along his way to this girlfriend's house. I think it was between Florida and
but I'm sure the
North
guilt, I'm sure they probably blame themselves when it's not their fault, but because they called him to tell him to come and get the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying how I know how I would feel if it was me.
Right. But how were they? Because there were, of course, when you look back, I love that show. What's it called? The
Evil lives.
Lives Here. That show
Yeah.
is great. And it's great because of the way that the outline of it. I love the outline, and I love hearing from the families of these killers, because it gives you such insight into, like, we all think, oh, like, people do it with the Delphi killer all the time. We just expect that this family is out there actively, purposefully covering for a killer in their family. And sometimes it's just not like that. Sometimes there are signs, but you only see them in hindsight because we want to see the good in people, And
They probably have no idea. I don't think they.
the from the videos, he looks like a caring, loving, like, dad. I don't know, but there's an organization that reached out to me in Alabama that they're wanting to see some changes, and they're speaking to, government officials, senators, congressmen and women, and trying to change a lot. And so I got to looking into it, and I found that Alabama they put into effect Aaron's Law, which is basically for reporting, like reporting of sexual abuse and teaching it in schools, teaching kids the signs, and that it's not okay, and that they didn't do anything wrong, and that the schools have implemented this in the state of Alabama. And my question I told her to ask, because it's not reflected in the arrests and convictions, is how many statistically have children come forward since this was implemented, and what became of those cases. Because if you have all of these kids and you're telling them that it's okay, we're going to keep you safe, and they're going to go away, and then they freaking don't, you're basically telling children that they're not worth it. And that's why I can't stand that the FBI can treat a case like Shannon's that way, because of the brutal way she was murdered, and the fact that person probably has not stopped. Maybe he's a pedophile. I could guarantee you he's still being a pedophile. And, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to use the word pedophile anymore. That's how bad our society is getting about the rights
Oh, because.
of pedophiles.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
monster. Screw that. No, I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to
Oh,
get.
well, you won't be able to use that either if the one law passes, because they're trying to make it legal. Well, we'll talk about that another time.
I can't get down with that. and I don't understand the LGBT community getting behind that. I mean, because if you think about, like, just because you're born with you have a victim, if you're a pedophile that is actively seeking out, even if it's just porn, to me, there's a victim. To the LGBT community to want to include that, I don't get it.
I don't understand it because there isn't they don't have there is no victims in anything else about the LGBT community. But if they add a P on there, there's victims to pedophiles.
Absolutely.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Right. Monica, yeah.
So
They do.
Randy's wants to know when you want to talk about our Hatfield family.
Oh, yeah.
You got some questions coming in.
Yeah, I'm seeing them now. So they can be labeled sexual orientation. I'm trying to put myself in like, and I'll probably will because I have a big mouth, but I'll probably ask my psychologist about that. Like, because I'm sure that, you know, yeah, save our children. That Wombat, that is the name of the hashtag that they're using. One of them, anyways. It's Alabamians against, I forgot.
And there's a group on Facebook, Mel, and actually last weekend I missed it. I was in town, and if I would have stayed in town a little longer, and if I would have known, I mean, I would have stayed in town a little longer. They had a rally at the courthouse, Save the Children, and they are trying to. They want stronger laws for pedophile, sexual offenders, rape.
FBI,
So,
girl.
yeah, me too. So Chris G said, I asked what does Mel think about True Crime Witch looking into the Shannon Paulk case?
The more the merrier.
And
I'm not that kind. I'm not, I'm not gonna it's not my case, like I have all the rights to it. The more people that talk about Shannon Paulk's case, and if they want me to help them, I will do anything I can to help them. But it's, I am not about that. So yeah, I hope she does. I reach out to people. I've kind of gotten a little jaded here recently just because now my hope was like revived with all of the coverage that the vigil got. Like that was super exciting. I wish I could find the footage of me on the news. That would be cool. But can't find it. But yeah, I think it might have been because I called the FBI out. I don't know.
oh yeah,
I don't know me. I mean, it's the truth.
mm-hmm.
So don't ask me a question and just want me to give you a pacified answer because it's not going to happen.
Right. And Christine, it's a follow-up of what she asked you earlier about the POI. Does he still live in the area close to the family? If you're able to answer it, if you can't.
I mean, I can give an opinion. I think so. I don't think he lives like right on top of it or anything, but yeah, I think he still lives there, and I think he's right under their noses, and I think he laughs at them all the time.
Carol says, when are you going to write the screenplay or script for the miniseries to connect this all together, or documentary? It could open up a lot of minds and voices or mouths. Which one?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, it's moving up on me. Family is a base society. Once that base is shaken, destroyed. Let's see.
Yeah, Ivy was right.
There we go. What's very frustrating is there's an alt-right group that is also using Save Our Children and Save the Children to push their conspiracy. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because who's going to be against that? But the ulterior motive is sick. So yeah, I completely agree, and I think she was the one that mentioned TED Talk, which I liked. So I don't know. I'm at some point in life you got to stand for something or you fall for anything. And so while I'm not a liberal and I'm not a conservative, I am about freedom and the Constitution and what this country was founded on, in a sense, since I mean, we did kind of take it by force. But yeah, I feel like with everything that's going on, it's getting scary. It's getting really scary, and I'll be damned if I get any vaccine. I ain't getting it. Sorry. Y'all got to
Oh,
research on vaccines. Just
I'm not. I will not take it either. Nope, I will not.
mm-mm.
Nope.
I
Not even
wouldn't.
if you try to force it on me. Will not.
Nope.
When somebody
But
tells me I have to do something, then that bothers me.
yeah, and I am an anti-vaxxer. I do not. My kids have gotten vaccines um, when they were older. But I did not vaccinate my children until just like in the past, um, probably 4 years of their teenagers when they started getting them, and it's ones that I've researched and I know that it would be better for them to have it as an adult. But no, I I know that I get a lot of criticism and people think that I'm like one of those in that I don't know what I'm talking about, but if you've seen the research that I do on true crime, it's no different in anything else that I study in my life. So when I mean I studied vaccines, I studied them inside and out for 9 months straight. And I went about it wanting to prove to my parents that they were wrong for not vaccinating us. And by the time I got done, I was like, absolutely not. This is insane. Like, this is straight up insanity of what is really goes. If for me, if you take your child into a doctor's office and they have a vaccine that they want to give your kid, and then okay, then they bring in this paper that you have to sign saying you're not going to sue them if your child has A, B, C, or D happen or an allergic reaction. But before they come in with that paper, and if you have questions, they treat you like you're a medically neglectful parent. But then they just say, "Oh, that's been taken care of. We took the thimerosal out. There is nothing in them that's dangerous anymore. Blah 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 blah." But then they bring you after, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well that's awesome." But then they bring you in this big paper to sign. Have you ever
Mhm.
had to sign a paper when you got any other medicines? No.
Right.
That's just freaking common sense. And the reason they're doing that is just because they don't want to be held liable. But pharmaceutical companies haven't been held liable for vaccine injuries since the Reagan administration. They were getting too many lawsuits, so they have the same thing we're seeing with the George Floyd thing with police officers, the qualified immunity. That's what pharmaceutical companies that make vaccines have, only for vaccines, though. And so they don't have the same checks and balances. I've been wanting a medicine for my daughter, who this could save her from an aneurysm. Okay. Like, it's a big deal. It's an important medicine. I went to a whole conference put on by specialists, by cardiac surgeons and heart doctors, how we can get it as parents of kids with this condition illegally. That's how much this medicine is saving kids, but it's not legal in the United States yet because it hasn't gone through all the trials. It's been a decade. a decade. That's pretty common for new medicine to come on the market and go through all of the trials and testing. Not vaccines, not at all. And that's because they don't have to go through the testing, and you can't sue them. You can sue the federal government, and good luck there.
Yeah. Well,
You're not going to win.
I don't think you're crazy. I know a personal friend whose son will spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Don't ask me the name of the disease, but vaccinations caused it. And I have seen many other children in the same shape because of vaccinations. So just normal vaccinations, they're yearly vaccinations that they're supposed to get. And when he was 8 years old, this happened to him. This has happened to many children from vaccinations. So I judge no one for not vaccinating their children or vaccinating their children. The thing is here now, at least in my area, the schools, actually, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to because I have another friend, very, very close friend that I grew up with. We hung out forever. Her daughter refused to get her kids vaccinated. I don't know if she changed that or not. And I think her oldest grandson should be in school by now. So I don't know if they decided to put him in school or homeschool him or what, because it was to the point the schools wouldn't let them go to school if they weren't vaccinated.
Yeah, see, they like to they try to bully you into, and that gaslighting is really what it is gaslighting, because in the state of Indiana, so far, religious exemption covers, and they can't keep your kids from school. She's in college now, and I have one in high school in public schools, and you just have to sign a religious exemption form in the state of Indiana. They are trying to change that. And my aunt is actually a huge advocate, and she has been a neonatal nurse at Riley for over 20 years. And her daughter is a physician's assistant at Riley, and they are 100% against vaccines. And there is a big movement of nurses that are finally coming together and going before the House. And those are, I had seen Ivy's comment about the anti-vax movement.
And it was Riley Hospital doctors that confirmed it. I'm typing it in now, though, so I'm going to finish. And if you don't know, Riley Hospital is Riley Hospital for Children here in Indiana, and they found my son's muscle disorder. They're the only ones that could find it, but they treat people from, and I learned this when my son was going there. I mean, they had patients from Michigan, from all over, and that's just how good they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they confirmed it.
And Ivy, I don't try to, sometimes it gets to me, because I get confronted with, oh, your child is ruining all the other children, and you're, just being difficult, and you don't know what you're talking about, and the doctors do. Well, if they were being honest, ask one to be honest about how much they actually learn about vaccines when they're in medical school, and how much studying they do on vaccines out, and how much they profit off of vaccines would be my question for them, which I have asked, and I never get a straight answer ever. And the fact that my children's medical records state in 3 different types of ways, basically, that they are non-vaxxed, like they're non-vaccinated children, as like it's like a scarlet letter on their thing. And it's like, well, when you take them back to what they're originally supposed to be, which is the homeopathic, I'm all about homeopathics.
Mm-hmm.
Homeopathics are sensible. Um, Ask anyone that is around snakes. That's homeopathic, when you inject yourself with a little bit of something in order to build up an immunity. But what our children don't have is the brain development to deal with the onslaught of heavy metals, which they will try to tell you they're not in there, but they are. All you have to do is read the box. They come with the vaccine. Just ask for the insert. And all of the other byproducts that are in there they're killing our children and they're making them sick. And the parents that are trying so hard to say, I have one of my good friends along, her son. I mean, this kid he was just, oh, let's see, when is it when they give that big onslaught of vaccines? I think it's like at 12 months and 24 months.
Yeah.
I think it was the 24 months. So this is almost this is a 2-year-old. He was just shy of 2. And he was running, walking, playing, talking, eating by himself. Like, he was brilliant. He was advanced for his age, really. And he got that round of vaccines, and it was like an immediate decline within days. And they still wanted to try to blame it on something else. And she took these videos that she had of her son before that day and then the days after, and vlogged it. He's not functional. I mean, he is, their brains are not developed. They're not developed enough to take, and you can't tell when a baby's immune system is down, and they don't have an immune system that is strong enough to fight through all of the chemicals in the metals.
Well, the Amish and the German, that they use the homeopathic all the time.
And why is it that they won't do any studies using the Amish Mennonite communities that do not vaccinate their children either? They won't do any studies. They won't do a study comparing non-vaxxed to vaxxed kids. There's very few of them, and most of them are small, and so they're thrown out. But look in other countries of what they did to stop SIDS, blood infections, is it encephalitis? Because this one was in 2002 when I was making the decision not to vax or to not. And that study was, they basically just were noticing the statistics of children and correlated it with the vaccine schedule at such a young age. And then all they did was delay it 2 years. And the difference within a 10-year span was incredible. There's so much research out there that you can do on them to safely vaccinate your children. And so many of it is they're just trying to scare you into doing it. And I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense. But children just flat out, on all fronts, they just don't seem to be important anymore. I don't get it. They don't seem to be as important in the family dynamic, the justice system, the healthcare system. I don't know, but we need to take care of that. What's that? That shows they work. Influenced by what's supposed to work. Vaccines that are known to be effective. Well, there's a ton of parents that would sign that waiver at hands down that are not going to vaccinate their children anyways.
I mean, I think who wants to can, who doesn't don't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I think the question to your answer about why they're not doing those studies, Carol said it earlier, big pharma money. Lake said they tried to push HPV vaccine for my son who will never have sex or have children because he can't. I told them absolutely not. Well, that's ridiculous. Yeah, like
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, my aunt just won a huge lawsuit against IU for them trying to force the nurses about getting vaccines or demoting them if they didn't. And she won, and it's like a huge deal. And I know that I'm just like a person. I'm not a medical professional, but I know so many, and there's so many that are finally like coming forward and telling the truth. Are you going to hear about it on the media? Absolutely not. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
There's so much that's not.
There are a lot of medical professionals that are going against what they are made to do. And, but that, especially that HPV one, it's dangerous. It's flat out dangerous. Ooh, I didn't think that was legal.
There's a lot. I mean, there's so much we don't see on the news that we should see.
You can choose. You don't have you can vaccinate your children for the ones that you like studied that you like know they're like what I did, like the ones that I decided like, yeah, this is something that they need to have, and just got them later in life, when their immune systems and their brains are developed, you can just get them later. There's so many of the things that the vaccines have just, really gone out of control, and they're so misunderstood because there's an agenda. And so I usually don't even talk about it. I don't even know why I'm talking about it right now, because I know better than to try to like change people's minds on it. I always just say, do the research, please, for the love of children. Like, just please do the research yourself. And when you do, and when you like literally like dig deep, you're going to be really shocked and sickened.
Wes says, is the HPV only dangerous if they are young or older ages safe?
No, it's just flat out dangerous. My aunt is the one that she knows that I don't vaccinate, and so she doesn't ever worry. But I remember the day that she called me crying and was like upset about a case that had come into Riley, and I can't talk about it, but and then of course that was pretty much what prompted her down the road, was the HPV, because before that she was completely, I mean, she's a medical professional, and her daughter is, and my cousin, her daughter is brilliant, and I mean IQ off the charts, and she is obsessive just like me. And so they have both, we all three, we do it together a lot. But they have the training. So for them to be that sickened and disgusted by what they're seeing because of HPV, um, but it's just not. It has to do with the I can't remember. I'm not going to speak to it because I can't remember all the big medical terms she used. But it's called. I have one on my Facebook. I just shared about the HPV. If you're friends with me on Facebook, or if you're not, you can still get on. It's public, and you can get on my Facebook. And it's just one story, but it's a pretty good one. And there's so many more just like it, and it's about HPV. Yeah, see, I don't really, there's just things that like I feel very passionate about, and like when I see a parent and like it's hard for me to not like say something, but at the same time, I learned my lesson on that a long time ago. But I also read that article, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like there's things that you can give F's about in life, and but if you give just like too many away about like whose feelings you're going to hurt, or, or not stating something that you're really convicted about, and somebody doesn't like it, it's like, you don't have to agree. I mean, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to get mad at people or like block people or, like call people out if they don't agree with me, or I mean, I'm just not like that. But, you know, I do understand what you're saying, Ivy. I mean, it is a touchy subject. I just wish that people were more open to conversations about it, because and ignorance isn't stupidity. Ignorance is just like, not, you don't know, you just don't know. And so we trust these doctors that they know, and they trust these pharmaceutical companies that they're doing what's right. And sometimes you just have to reevaluate that in life, and that's one of them for me. It's a
But
big one.
almost every medicine they come out with, don't take this if this. And almost every medicine, you have to take something else because of that medicine. I mean, you know what I mean? Almost
Right.
every single medicine.
Try going to your doctor and like asking them that you would like to try just like taking them to prescribe you some aluminum just to take in a small dose. It shouldn't even be in deodorant. Yeah, but like aluminum is not conducive to humans, along with thimerosal, which is mercury, and nickel, and any metal is not conducive. And like, if you did a hair analysis comparing my girls with like fully vaccinated kids, the heavy metals that come back from a hair analysis are just so sad. And a lot of it, like getting that out. And I've heard people talk, about like, oh, I'm just all about like oils and that's gonna like heal my kid. No, like I'm not that kind of a person either. There's a place for doctors, and I use that a lot. But there's also a lot of things that they do that are just not necessary.
Yeah.
California is one that Vaxxed is a good movie. I don't know if you can even find it anywhere. It's called Vaxxed, and has a lot of good information. No one will watch it just because they think that it's just a bunch of kooks like me. But it's really not. I've gone to the conferences, I've gone to the premieres, and the majority of the people that you meet there are medical professionals, and they're in hiding. They're like secretly going, and it's really sad because they'll lose their jobs. Doctors will lose their jobs. And so it's, you can't even, like, for me, I can even get a pediatrician to take my kids on as their primary care because I didn't vaccinate, which is just ridiculous. That should be against the law.
Yeah.
But yeah, but things are changing, and I just hope that they keep working towards that. I know here in the state of Indiana, my aunt works really hard, and she and her daughter are medical professionals, and they have a whole total, like, I don't know how many people are in it now, but they haven't started an association of nurses against vaccines, and there are many doctors that support it as well, um, secretly. Yeah, but yet with they just, that's the thing though, they contradict themselves all the time. It's like when you're pregnant, like you shouldn't eat fish or things from like a can and like all these like little things. And then you're like, but like when my baby comes out, you want me to like inject them with it? You're like, what kind of what's happening?
Yeah. So West is asking, is that how that movie's spelled?
Vaxxed, yes. No, with 2 X's. What's Lake's article?
She said HPV vaccine can have chronic side effects, including ovarian failure.
Yeah, there's a long list that they don't list. And you ever, because we're seeing a lot of these commercials for vaccines. HPV is one of them, but we also see commercials for other medicines, like antidepressants and Viagra and like all, and everybody knows when you see those commercials, they'll get done with the commercial and then it's followed by, these are all these side effects. Like, you're going to give me an antidepressant that may cause me to commit suicide, and they
Right.
list all of these things
Uh-huh.
that follow those.
And how many medicines now?
And you want to know why? It's because they're not held accountable. They are held accountable for all the other big pharma commercials that are out, but with vaccines, they're not held accountable. So they don't have those most of the time.
Yeah.
Those always crack me up though, because it's like you're taking a medicine for like, sinus pressure and may cause sinus pressure. You're like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I know it. We've been on for 3 hours again.
What? Oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
was on for 3 last night too. Time flies, man.
Yeah. How many people joined us tonight? I don't feel like very many people were chatting, but it's fun.
Well, we had like 30 at one time or more, I think. I can't remember. Mods, how many we have total tonight? It's your job. Just joking.
Right. Yeah. Chantix is one. I was put on that for a short time thinking that would help me quit smoking. Oh my gosh, I was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I was pissed. Like, it made me the most angry person in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. Like, do they give it to you? Because I'd like to know your doctors. I'll go to them.
I don't know too many people that have had good experiences with Chantix.
But I do admit, like, I'm a contradiction because, like, I was never vaccinated as a kid. I think I got one, and I have never vaccinated for anything as an adult. But I do put all kinds of shit in my body. Like, I'm not like that person. Not, I'm not healthy by any means. I'm, my cousin and aunt, I mean, they're like hardcore, like, no, they take it into all aspects of life and like even down to light bulbs. Like, no, I don't do all of that.
I took, I used to take the flu shot faithfully every year. But well, when I worked at the hospital, you were expected to, but
Yeah.
I haven't taken it for the last, I don't know, 2 years at least for sure, 3, and I won't take it anymore
What was
after
it? Chantix?
flu shot.
Oh, the flu shot.
Hmm.
Yeah. See?
And my allergies are killing me, man, this week. Bad.
Well, I got to get up in the morning and go to work.
Oh, girl, I didn't know that.
I know I've only got an hour to get to bed before I get hyper. So I better hurry.
Yeah, you better. Well, everybody, tell Mel good night and thank her because she has made this chat interesting.
We just covered all kinds of
Yes, we did.
doing good. I like my potty mouth. I'm doing good. I hope I can do this good with Incog.
Yes, she's really wanting you to come on.
I am.
She's really excited.
Good. I'm excited too. I dig her. She's like right up my alley. She's as anal as I am. She might
She
be a
is.
little more anal. I don't
She
know.
she's I love it. I love Incog. She's really
I do too. I do too.
she's good people.
Can you see this?
Everybody's saying good night, good chat.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Freckled. Wombat. A. Sharon. Ivy. Lake.
Ivy Rose says, "Can you see this?"
See her comment? I saw it.
Wes says,
Monica.
"No drama or BS on her channel." That's right.
Oh, yeah. I've seen all of them, I think.
Yeah.
I answered you while your phone
Oh,
died.
Ivy Rose said, "That's so weird. My phone died, and when I came back, none of my comments were showing." Huh.
Well,
Well, you can only go up so far.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Even I can, Ivy Rose. I can only go up so far, which is so weird.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
I'm not signing off just yet, guys. I'll say
Sorry.
good night after Mel does. But if those of you that are going good night or signing off, good night. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great weekend. Yeah, that's why I'm not signing off yet, because I'm going to let you guys know my schedule.
Okay. All right. I'll probably go live on Sunday. Probably 9, 8 or well, no, I can do it earlier now since I have my closet. So I may go on earlier, probably like more like 8ish, I think. So oh man, you know what I didn't think about with the Sundays is when football starts. Oh no,
Oh,
I might have to try to find a different day because I like to watch football.
yeah.
I love it. I play fantasy. I'm like getting our drafts coming up. It's like a big time league. Like I'm serious about it. Like I love it. I like football. I don't like any other sport though. Find them very
Well,
boring. But I can't go live on Sunday. Football is literally from 1 to sometimes 10 to
well,
12.
um,
Right?
what about Saturday?
Yeah, as long as there's not a night game. And I get Mondays are taken with football too. And Thursdays. So I don't know.
My faith.
I'm gonna have to
Long
make some
time for
decisions.
sure, girl.
I'm gonna have to make some decisions. There's some teams that I don't prefer to watch. Like they're just boring when they play each other. So I'll just like go live when they're playing and just have my fantasy team pulled up on my phone next to me so I can see how good I'm doing. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Mel, for coming on.
Anytime.
Sweet dreams and love you. Mwah. Okay, guys. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. And I hope you did enjoy. I think Mel was very interesting tonight. So for my schedule, I've been telling you wrong. I don't know why I've thought September 1st was Monday, but it's Tuesday. And that is when my mom has her procedure. So I will not be able to be here on Tuesday. Because that's when they're going to do the heart cath. And then she has to be there for 6 hours, laying flat and all that. So I do have Bible study Monday, but I will go ahead and come live on Monday. I don't know if I'll be able to cover a case, though. I will try, but as you know, I don't know if I'll be able to switch my mind. That's one of the reasons why I don't do Mondays or Wednesdays. But I'm going to go ahead and go live on Monday since I can't on Tuesday. And my son has a procedure Wednesday. Which he's got to have some injections, and I think they're going to try to burn his, I'm not sure. And of course I'll have Bible study, I think. So I don't know if I'll be on Wednesday, but I'll be back Thursday. So that is my schedule. So I will be back on Monday, not Tuesday. So that's, I guess, the only difference in my schedule. Right? Everything else will be normal. This week, Monday, not Tuesday. And then probably back on Thursday, not Wednesday. I don't do Wednesdays anyway, so unless there's a surprise. So I am very thankful that you guys came and hung with us. Yes, Mel is always interesting. Ivy Rose, my mom's having a heart catheterization. So we'll be at the hospital all day long. Maybe, she's supposed to lay for 6 hours after the procedure. And sometimes they don't get her in when she's supposed to be. This isn't the first time she's had it. Sometimes they go ahead and keep her overnight, even when they say she'll come home. It just depends on, because that's happened before. So we'll just have to see on that. Yeah. So that's Tuesday. So I'm going to go live Monday. So that's the only change in that. So, yes. Thank you, Lake. So I do hope you all enjoyed tonight. I'm not going to keep you any longer. We've been on for 3 hours and 15 minutes, man. Now, I know some of you like going long, but don't get used to this. Time just gets away. Thank you guys for sticking it out with me this long, and Mel. So I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you. Thank you all. That's right. That is right, Kay. Yes, we are. Thank you, West. Kay. Lake. Thank you all. So, all right, guys. I'm going to sign off. You all have a great weekend. My grandkids are with my son, so I don't know. I might see you around in chats. I might not. Thank you, Ivy Rose. I thank you and appreciate you coming in. All of you guys. I really hope you guys know how much I appreciate you. I really do. And I love you all. Good night and God bless. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.